Hello, everybody, and welcome into the Pigskin Project YouTube channel. I am Matt Hartman, and today I ride solo, talking Week 5 recap. Some major things happened. The first kind of bit of bye weeks, so this was able to kind of speed through. Hopefully, got through every single game with some nuance, with some, takeaways. There were some that I really had no takeaways. Some being as simple as, hey, X team good, Y team bad. Sometimes it's that simple. No major long term, big picture items to take away from some of these games throughout an entire 200 plus regular season of the NFL. But hope you enjoy. Regardless, make sure to check out the live streams every Wednesday, 9:30 Eastern, 8:30 Central. That's where we talk the preview content that you see on this channel. The college football content you see on this channel. We would love and appreciate that if you stopped by. But without further ado, let's get you into my solo recap. Hello, everybody. I am Matt Hartman. As you heard in the intro, riding solo for the Week 5 recap show. So, not going to keep you here too long, but a lot to talk about. So let's start with something that I actually predicted on the preview show this week. The New England Patriots go into Buffalo and take down the last of the undefeated. If you hear a popping, that is the popping of champagne bottles from the 1972 Dolphins. The undefeated team, the only undefeated team, still stands, and we don't have an undefeated team going into week 6. Doesn't that sound crazy? Well, that's what happens in a league of parity. And the NFL world, the casual world, I should say, learned about Drake May tonight. I mean, this guy truly was phenomenal in every sense of it. He doesn't have the box score that, 350 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, but this is what he has been doing this entire season outside of, the silly Raiders game to start the season. He's been able to hit that throw he hits down the right sideline on the final drive to get into field goal range to Kayshon Boutte. He's able to make a play where he's, shrugging off a defender, much like Josh Allen does, to throw it into the flat to Stephon Diggs, who, again, Stephon Diggs, monster game he had tonight. 10 catches, 146 yards. And I believe his return to Buffalo, because, he gets traded to Houston, never plays the Bills last season. But this was all with, where this was a Bills defense that a week ago, by my Saints, got run over for almost 200 yards. This game was anything but. Their leading rusher was Trevian Henderson with 6 carries, 24 yards, and that's probably because he's the only one who didn't fumble the football. It felt like in this game, we have another Ramondre Stevenson fumble moment. They were winning because of the arm of Drake May in this one, and because he was the better quarterback on the field. It felt like Josh Allen was pushing the envelope a lot. It felt like there was a lot of, I want to give props to the back end for the Patriots in this one, what they were able to do on the back end and how they were able to make things happen in the back seven. Christian Gonzalez makes some huge, timely breakups to lead to a field goal drive in which the Bills never see the ball again. Overall, man, just being able to see what this healthy, Patriots defense looks like in the back seven was really impressive. And yeah, I mean, this was a fun game. It was a bizarre first 30 minutes. You get 3 fumbles in the first quarter alone, 3 field goals, including the Patriots settling for a field goal on the 1 yard line, where it was like, I feel like we were all kicking our feet up, like, this is a team that you got to get 7s. You can't take 3s, and 3 ends up being the literal difference. So again, Mike Vrabel finding a way, stamping the Patriots, and I don't like to be Mr. Well, look at the schedule, but the next 3 games for the 3-2 Patriots, they travel to New Orleans, then they travel to Tennessee, and then they are home for Cleveland to finish out October. There's a world where, I mean, Vegas is certainly going to favor them. There's a world where the New England Patriots are a 6-2 football team going into the month of November with a real shot to get this division because they've already gotten the Bills once at home. So interested to see how the Patriots continue to build on this. Just felt like, Christian Gonzalez has been healthy for the last 2 weeks. Carlton Davis has been off and on this season. So to see that, to just see the team fully healthy on the defensive end and just all the younger guys on the offensive end come together with a little Stephon Diggs, vintage Stephon Diggs moment in this one. Let's move on to my Saints. Let's get it out of the way. Uh, Saints win 26, Giants 14. The Saints had their first touchdown drive of the season that was under 10 plays. It was an 87-yard touchdown to Rashid Shaheed, I believe against cover 4. He got matched up on Tyler Nubin and just cooked him. So that was pretty cool. And then they had their first offensive play with a lead today. That was a pretty fun, interesting stat. Overall, like the Giants scored all 14 of their points on their first 2 drives, and this is where the Saints won the football game, is they're able to get 5 takeaways. 4 of them happened in New Orleans territory in this one. So again, them being able to have the game that they had, and the Saints had 0 turnovers. Spencer Rattler, that has been what he's been able to really do the first part of this season, is he is taking care of the ball in a pretty nice way. Doesn't really push the envelope too much downfield, or so. He hasn't hit as many splash plays as I think there's been desire to. And overall, they didn't run the ball particularly well. 30 carries, 88 yards, and under 3.0 average, but it was the defense coming to play and doing their job in this one, of course, forcing the 5 takeaways. A Jackson Dart game, Jackson Dart, talking about him, it's game 2 and it's his first one on the road. I don't know if we really wanted to expect him to, run over New Orleans, even if we think oh, the Saints are a terrible football team. This was a closing spread in which the Saints were favored. So, I mean, again, still kind of at that point where these two teams are viewed pretty equally. And yeah, I mean, he has the game that he has. He has the fumble in air. He has the 2 interceptions, one of those being straight to Kool-Aid McKinstry. Also, shout out Kool-Aid McKinstry. He had 2 interceptions in this one. But all in all, I'm going to choose on the side of patience rather than major criticism. Could he have played better? Absolutely. But overall, I think he took care. He did fine. They also lost Slayton in this game, so again, that's something to watch if they're really losing wide receiver bodies, pass catcher bodies by the dozen here, as they've already lost their star number 1 in Malik Neighbors. And then the Carl Granderson roughing call, that one was interesting. No attempt at a throw by Jackson Dart, kind of just sinks and takes the sack. No helmet-to-helmet contact, and that's roughing the passer again. It's an interesting penalty. I don't like roughing the passer. I've said it before. If we have a roughing the kicker and running into the kicker, I think we should have a running into the quarterback and roughing the quarterback, or running into the passer, however you want to frame it. But that one didn't feel like it should be 15 yards. I think there's a lot of ticky-tack in that call. But it ended up not being really anything. But then again, nobody is going to face accountability on the referee's side. It's not like a referee's going to be fired for this, because it's not like there is just another referee coming in through the woodwork that they are able to just hire off, I guess. But that's all for that one. Let's move on to the Buccaneers and Seahawks. Again, this is just like last week where I had so much fun watching Packers and Cowboys, watching those 2 quarterbacks operate and those offenses as a whole operate. This one was no different. Just a ridiculous band-for-band battle in the throwbacks in Seattle. Good weather. It was just awesome. There was 10 total incompletions by both quarterbacks combined, and they had 6 total passing touchdowns combined. And then you think of just the plays that I'm going to remember. Darnold's 4th and 2, tie game in the fourth quarter where he's able to shrug off a defender and find Torrey Horton for a touchdown. And then Baker's like 3rd and 15. What was it, to hit a Buka in the back part of the end zone where he just rips the football as Baker can do down the field. Just incredible stuff. Those are the plays that I'm going to remember from that one. And then you get into like there were 10 drives in the second half, 7 touchdowns, 1 punt, 1 interception, the Darnold interception that sets up then the game-winning field goal for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Again, Tampa Bay is 4-1. They have a point differential of, I believe, 3 this season. So again, like, they are winning games by the skin of their teeth. But it is, I mean, all you could do is tip the cap to them. I mean, if you were able to win games like this and just find a way, especially with their injuries on the back end. They were missing Jameel Dean. They were missing Christian Izzy, and they were missing Benjamin Morrison in this one. And so were the Seahawks, missing Nick Eamon-Worry, missing Devin Witherspoon, missing who was it? Julian Love. So, like, so many guys throughout this game. Or Nick Eamon-Worry did play. I feel like he was in and out in this one. But overall, just being able to have a major offensive splash game from 2 quarterbacks that, again, we have so much history with them in Carolina, and being, kind of not like being separable, but at the same time, like being in the same draft class and having all this connective tissue, but to just see them be able to ball out the way that they were, just I call it pure football euphoria. Just 2 quarterbacks. There's no fear in ripping the ball down the field, making plays happen. It was awesome. I loved this game, and just being able to have the half that was Buccaneers and Seahawks. It was a gambler's and fantasy football player's dream to have the points that these 2 teams put up on the board. Then we get into another later game window. The Commanders skunked the Chargers. The Chargers score the first 10 points in this one. I think they score on their first 2 drives. They don't score again. This was a game that, again, I know it's like a joke, but it's like Herbert was still good. Like, Herbert was still fine in this one. He, at one point in this game, there was a graphic they showed from Next Gen Stats. He had a 2.16 time to throw, which for reference would be the fastest in the NFL, with 9 pressures and 4 sacks in this one. Just a crazy outlier statistical number. It's what holds me back with this team. It's why you're not going to see me really like push this Chargers team, even after their 3-0 start, into that like Super Bowl tier of teams, just because I don't think the offensive line is going to get there. Especially, maybe Joe Alt comes back and kind of shores things up, but even missing Rashawn Slater is just enough for me to continue to hold back on really pushing the envelope on this team being like a true AFC contender. Just because, like, we think about the Commanders' pass rush and what those guys are. Like, Kinlaw's a fine player, and Von Miller is still, like, serviceable. Daron Payne has been there forever. Like, you think of all these names, but at the same time, it's like it's not an overwhelming pass rush unit, and they were overwhelming today against the Chargers, much like the Giants were last weekend, much like the Broncos were a few weekends ago. Like, Justin Herbert is just putting so much emphasis on his body, and there is just so much emphasis on this offense for him to be perfect all the time, that you're going to run into games like this where you just can't compete against a good football team. And Washington, we talked about this game on the preview show. Washington being the underdog. How is Washington going to win this game? Well, they were one of the most explosive run games in all of football, and this is how you can get this Chargers defense. I love what Jesse Minter does, but the run game stuff, because of the lighter bodies he has on the field, it makes him susceptible to the run. And you have a game where Bill Krosky-Merritt has a 73% rushing success rate, 14 carries, 111 yards, 2 touchdowns. He even caught a pass, which I believe went for, it wasn't explosive, if I'm not mistaken. It went for, 28 yards is what I'm looking at. Like, you're just able to have that game They're able to sprinkle the ball out to Debo. You get the timely explosive to Luke McCaffrey throughout the game. This was just a Commander's recipe to win the football game, to just have enough. And it also helps win 3 out of 4 quarters. You skunk the other team. Daniels looked pretty decent. After his injury scare, he played with the brace. He looked fine. Like he was still able to extend plays and still be able to be a threat in the run game. But for the most part, what they were able to get from Bill Krosky-Merritt, I talked about it on the recap or the preview show, like being able to go from like the best case scenario is like we don't have to do this Eckler thing anymore because we are going to get more explosive in the backfield with JCM. It's I think it's something that is going to pay them dividends throughout the season. Just getting more explosive at running back next to Jaden Daniels while still being able to have his explosive ability. Let's get over to let's go to the noon slate. Let's go to Broncos and let's go to Eagles. Let's talk about the other team that was undefeated walking into today. The Philadelphia Eagles get downed by the Denver Broncos 21-17 in a game in which they were leading 17-3 at the start of the fourth quarter. The Broncos had 200 offensive yards total at that time. Cortland Sutton ended this game with 8 catches for 99 yards. In the fourth quarter alone, he had 4 catches for 76 yards. One of them was on a 3rd and 15 for a 34-yard gain, and one of them was on 3rd and 6, in which they were up 18-7 or 18-17 at that point. So it extended the drive, in which ended with a field goal. It killed another 2 minutes. In the grand scheme of things. The Eagles kind of have a little moment at the end here. Is Goddard down the right sideline? Is there DPI? I think you could argue yes. I think you could argue no. They hold the flag. They don't throw it. Is it the bad call? I don't know. It still gave you another shot at the end zone. And ironically enough, we have an article this week that Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown aren't happy with their roles and they want the ball more, and they end up fighting over the football on the Hail Mary, and no one catches it, and they end up losing because of it. Interesting. I saw this from Nate Tice on Twitter. He talked about how in the second half alone, the Eagles had 24 offensive plays. 23 of them were passes and 1 designed run. So you talk about this team throughout the first 4 weeks. All anyone's talking about is, man, they got to open up the playbook. They got to throw downfield. They got to do this. They got to do that. And in this one, they do open it up, and you have to deal with the results sometimes. You don't have a good Jalen Hurts game, even in the slightest. Like, he is a volatile player. This is how volatile he gets. You have the 6 sacks. He can't, push the ball down the field in the second half. Just nothing feels like you have that wheel route to Saquon. It feels like you could sit on the ball, but they just don't. I don't know what happened here. I really, really don't. To only have 9 Saquon Barkley touches in a game in which he was his best. He was at his best today. And that's, with him having the touchdown down the right sideline. So for them to have this game slip away, again, maybe it's another one of those things where it's like, I said it as like a joke, where it's like, hey, maybe the best thing that could happen for this team is like a loss, because then it kind of wakes you up to like, hey, that's what we can lose. We're beatable. We aren't invincible. And we can kind of tweak things. We're going to figure out that together. I don't know. Like, Hurts is one of those players that it's just hard to have a specific pinned down game plan for 1 week. For each week, I should say. But he should also get more than 0 designed carries. Like, it's just silly things like this. I think overthinking happens in the NFL far too often that we want to admit, and this is one of those things that happens. I think everyone's going to take a reset, to, take a step back, and everyone's going to figure it out from there, because this team is still just ridiculously talented, and you just let one slip away against a pretty good defense, by the way. Like, Vance Joseph and what they've done on the defensive end has been pretty impressive over in Denver. Let's get to the last one of this major 6-pack that I want to talk about. The Texans dropped 44 on the Ravens dome, 44-10. The Texans had one punt drive the entire game, and it was when Davis Mills was in the football game. Stroud has had as many incompletions as passing touchdowns today, which was 4. And then you get into the Ravens. They're now 1-4. They're not likely to have Lamar Jackson next week. And who do they play next week, Matt? They play the Rams, who are coming off a game in which they're really pissed off about losing to the 49ers. So you are staring at a season in which the Ravens are 1-5 at the bye, and they have all of these injuries to deal with. We've talked about Nnamdi Madubuike already being out for the season. Lamar is dealing with a hamstring injury, and hamstring injuries are always the weirdest tissue injuries because it's all about how you feel. It's all about, like, if you bring him back too fast, you're going to risk the chance of re-aggravating. So you get into that, but then you realize the Ravens have every single one of, outside of a Holmes-Browns game, all their division games are in front of them. All of them. And you look at this division. We're going to talk about Cincinnati. We're going to talk about Cleveland. But Cincinnati, being where they are, they don't look like a competent football team. They look like a bottom 5 football team. The Browns look competent, look more competent than Cincinnati, but at the same time, not competent enough that I'm like, yeah, they're going to win games because they're still 1-4. They're still 1-4 with a rookie quarterback today, and then the Steelers, who have 40-year-old Aaron Rodgers, who still can go rogue on offense whenever he feels like it, and just decides, hey, I'm going to run hitches and slants the entire game. It works against, Minnesota, and you hit the timely explosive in that game, but are they trustworthy? So, again, is this a lost season for Baltimore? Heading into, like, really close to a bye week. I don't know, because I still think the roster is talented enough that you could rally, but 1-5, man, that is just such a hole to dig out of, and I don't know if they figure out the corners back too, ever. If they can, I don't know. But you look at, like, their list of inactives today. Marlon Humphrey's on it. Kyle Hamilton's on it. Lamar's on it. Pat Ricard's on it. Just so many guys that are, like, it was a Pro Bowl list of inactives today. So that's going to be all for the Major Six Pack. Once we come back, I'm going to kind of have little mini notes for the rest of the slate today. Time out. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, do all those things. It really, really helps us out. It helps push out the algorithm to so many different new fans of the channel. But I'll let you get back to the video. And we are back into it. Let's start with what we all woke up to, the Dillon Gabriel debut over in London. The Vikings, in the nicest of ways, survive the Cleveland Browns. Carson Wentz leaves this game, comes back after, halftime. They kind of still, sputtering on offense, but they figure out, hey, even if this front four is giving us major, major troubles and Carson Wessinger is flying around the football field, we could still throw the ball to Justin Jefferson. He made some timely catches down the field in this one, leading to the Jordan Addison touchdown, in which, you have the Jordan Addison drama in which he doesn't play the entire first quarter. Apparently he missed a walkthrough. Apparently on Twitter people were speculating he was, like, just missing. That was a thing. Like, he's just missing. That was interesting, but Vikings find a way. This was a game they needed to find a way. You can't lose both of them going into the bye. You can't lose both international games going into the bye. But, you have some fun London moments in this one. Cam Akers is able to throw a 30-yard touchdown. Quinshot Judkins, again, is able to get 23 carries and, like, 100 yards. So all these rookies, like, and if Fannin gets a touchdown in this one, Isaiah Bond got really major run in this one. Schlesinger, I just mentioned. And then, of course, Dillon Gabriel playing starter at quarterback. So many rookies making an impact on this Browns football team. And then Dillon Gabriel, the main point of emphasis that I think everybody wants to hear is, like, he was fine. From afar, from my point of view watching the football game, he was not good today. He was not good. It was his first start against a really good defense, so I did not expect him to be good. But he did the one thing. He was 3 for 10 or they were 3 for 15 as a team on third down. Really, really bad. But he did what Flacco just could not do, and that was take care of the football. And it put them in a great chance to win the football game. So again, he did not push the ball down the field. He had like a lower than 5 average depth of target. He did not push the ball down the field, nor did I expect him to. And when he did, it was overthrowing Isaiah Bond. It felt like it just overall, I was not impressed with Dylan Gabriel, and I can't make that more clear. But the one thing he did really, really well is the one thing Joe Flacco could not do, and that was take care of the football, and put them in a potential chance to win. They don't end up winning, but it put them in the best possible chance to win. Then you get into the stick with the noon. We're going to go through the noon, and then we'll get to the last two of the later slate. The Cowboys, 37, the Jets, 22. The Jets make the scoreboard look better. This was a Dak game, again, in which just MVP Prescott, here we go, boys. It's coming along. Just another elite Dallas offensive game, and Javonte Williams, again, just proving like he might be the value signing of the year. Another game in which he has over 130 rush yards. He had a long of 66, which was like right before the halftime. Ryan Flournoy, however you pronounce it. I'm going to learn how to pronounce it because he was so incredible today. 6 catches for 114 yards today. Pretty impressive stuff. And then the Dallas defense. Shout out Matt Eberflus against Justin Fields. He's secret weapon, as Brian Schottenheimer said this week. 3 quarters. The first 3 quarters only gave up 2 field goals. The run game kind of gashed him a little bit. I bet Breece Hall. That's how I know. But overall, just being able to figure it out on the defensive end, even if it is against the New York Jets, just a good plus in the back pocket of the Dallas Cowboys, who are now 2-2-1. And also, the Jets. They're the only winless team left. We'll talk about the Titans. We've already talked about my Saints. The pre-snap stuff, this pre-snap procedural stuff is still just a big, big problem. It continues to just plague the offense as a whole. They're already limited by their personnel. They're already limited by what they are jockeying out at quarterback. Like he is Justin Fields, we know what he is. He is not a drop back passer that you can, dig out of holes with. And I know he scored 60 points in the fourth quarter. I know. But he's just not a quarterback able to sustain pure drop back for a long period of time. And this was one where they kind of dig their hole in it. Then we move on to they also get a overseas game next weekend. So we get the Jets in an island game. Let's go, guys, against the Broncos. But let's move on. The Raiders, 6. Colts, 40. The Colts. All right, let's talk about the Colts. The Colts wagon is still wagoning. The offense is still really, really awesome. The defense, finds a way, and they make a huge plays. The special teams gets a block. All right, the Colts, you guys are awesome. All right, that's all I really need to say. But the main point of this is like the Vegas thing with Geno. The Geno experience is starting to get really, really concerning because you extended him in the offseason. You traded a top 70 pick or a top 90 pick, in which becomes Jalen Milroe. We always have that connection point. Jalen Milroe fumbled today, by the way. Didn't mention that in the Seahawks. But hey, not great for that trade right now. All right, rambling. Back. But Geno, 9 interceptions in 5 games. The next most is 8 by Jake Browning, who again we'll talk about. Yeah, I mean, this was supposed to be a quarterback stabilizer. This was supposed to be a quarterback, walking in, saying, let's push what we had in the past to the past. The Gardner Minshew era, the Jimmy Garoppolo era, the Aiden O'Connell era. Push it, and it's gone, and nobody has to think about it anymore. Except, like, he's kind of playing worse. He's playing in the exact same, way. Just not being able, he pushes the ball down the field recklessly. He had a 3rd and 8 today, where Albert Okwuegbunam runs across the field on just a basic drag, like take the first down. Instead, he takes a shot down the field to, I believe, Jacoby Myers. Incomplete pass, they have to punt. It's just a drive ender because he's being reckless, pushing the ball down the field. And then, like, the difference in this game, I know it's not the difference because it's 34 points, but the Colts were 6 for 6 on red zone touchdown percentage in this game. The Raiders were 0 for 4. That's insane. That's just a stark difference. The Colts also, just making me chuckle, they were 1 for 4 on 2-point conversion. They had 4 2-point conversions in the game. They won by 34, and they only made one of them. It felt like they just kept doing it just to be like, hey, we have to get one. We have to get one, or we can't leave the field. But overall, for the Raiders, I'm not, like, we're 5 games in. They're 1 and 4. They haven't won since week 1. I didn't have much expectations for this Raiders team coming in, but after week 1 being the most explosive pass offense in football, like, they were the most explosive pass offense of week 1 outside of, the Baltimore Buffalo game. They have just been anything but, and just been reckless in the nicest of ways. Geno Smith has been very, very reckless through the rest of these games. Then we get into Miami 24, Panthers 27. The Dolphins started this game 17-0. 3 straight scoring drives. They followed that up with 5 punt drives, all being less than 5 plays each. So they just could not find a way to move the football down the field after they went up 17-0. The Rico Dowdle game happened. So the Panthers are 2-0 at home, by the way. They're 0-3 on the road. They're 2-0 at home. The 2 wins they have at home is a 30-0 division win against the Falcons, and now a game in which Rico Dowdle, the backup running back who they signed as kind of this flyer, rushes for over 200 yards in the single game. He has a 48% rushing success rate, which is 84th percentile for a single game, and for his volume that he had of over 20 carries, it's super impressive. And so to him have this game in a game where they're trailing, most of the they're kind of clawing back in that second quarter and beyond, for him to have what he did was really, really impressive. And then you flip the other side, and the Dolphins rushing success rate, 8% success rate on 13 designed attempts. So that means 1 singular rushing attempt deemed positive EPA in this one. Not great, Bob, for the Miami Dolphins run game. Overall, it's a fun game. It likely means nothing. I don't think this costs McDaniels his job. I think we still have a lot of runway for a McDaniels season. Again, I think when owners fire their coach, it's when they're embarrassed. I don't know if this deems embarrassing enough, where, like, that first week against the Colts was deemed embarrassing because you have a game in which, it felt like half the team quit, and Daniel Jones is on the other side of the football playing like an MVP caliber player, and you're like, oh, that's Daniel Jones. He's playing like an MVP caliber player. That's not supposed to happen. But he's been doing that all season. So we'll find out, I think, more with the Dolphins as we go along. Again, does this mean anything for, like, playoff implications for either team? Probably not. But hey, I had fun watching it. I had fun, cruising along and watching it over. Last thing, I can't do this every single week, but, like, man, I just the Bryce Young stuff is just, like, the way he holds onto the football, the pre-snap delay of games he had in the red zone was just, like, crazy. I don't think he has the arm like, everything that they score in the red zone feels like schemed up. It has to be schemed up into a way to like, kind of account for his lack of, like, playmaking ability, his arm strength specifically. But he had a nice throw to Xavier Legette. So there's my say something nice about Bryce Young segment. Then we move on to the final 2 games of the day in the afternoon slate. The Titans 22, the Cardinals 21. How did they win this game? The Cardinals' last point they scored was 10:43 in the second quarter. Kind of crazy to think about that. And then all I need to describe for this game was the fourth quarter was on crack in the nicest way of possible. Uh, Amari DiMercado, the third string, kind of fourth string because of the way he was deployed in this good, fourth string running back, fumbles because he pulls what A.D. Mitchell does in this game. He throws the ball away prior to going into the end zone. That would have been 7 points they would want to have on the board. Then down by 9 with under 5 minutes to go, Cam Ward throws a red zone interception, and you just the game's over. Game's over. Seals the game. Except it gets fumbled. The Titans then recover it. Tyler Lockett, the longtime Seahawk, now Titan, recovers it in the end zone. Now they're down 2 points with all 3 timeouts. They then get a stop, and Cam Ward marches down the field, including one of his best throws as a professional so far to Calvin Ridley down the right sideline. Joey Sly walks in, and the Titans get their first victory in a game that just should never, ever happen, but it happened. Good for Cam Ward, good for the Titans. Seems like, maybe this is, are they turning a leaf? They're finally winning football games. I don't know. They only had 6 penalties this day. The penalty watch for the Titans, I continue to be on. But overall, Cam Ward still has a long ways to go. Just overall, his processing and what he does down the field. I want to see some more, learning moments more so than each week I come on here and say, oh, he just keeps hucking it down the field and it's 10 yards over someone's head. I don't want to keep coming on here and saying that, but I do want to make a point of he can continue to improve, and hopefully that by season's end you can go into next season saying, hey, let's fill out these kind of things and let's get back there. But it's nice to see the Titans get a win, the most important part. And then the last one, this was a game that I had no takeaways from this one. The Lions win. The Lions were up 28-3 going into the fourth quarter. The Bengals got 3 touchdowns in 10 minutes, with 2 of them being awesome Jamar Chase moments. But I don't think there's a real takeaway for this one other than the Lions are still really good. And the Bengals without Joe Burrow are really, really bad. I could not come up with anything that, substantial of more. This stat, the Lions have scored 34-plus points in 4 straight games. So since the Green Bay debacle, in which they couldn't run the ball, they couldn't throw it down the field, Jared Goff had one of his lowest average depth of targets of his career. And everybody's like, hey, the Lions are missing Ben Johnson. They're missing Aaron Glenn. And the Packers have taken over the NFC. And all the Lions have done since then is bulldoze teams and bulldoze and bulldoze and bulldoze. And maybe those teams are bad. He beats the Bears and they beat the Ravens along the way. And they now beat the Bengals along the way. So it's like, hey, are they beating anybody good? At least they're doing what the Lions do. And then on the other side, the flip side of it, the Bengals, they start their 2-0, but they lose Joe Burrow. They have given up an average of 37 points in the last 3 games. Just an unreal stat. How many points that they just continue to give up. This defense, it ain't getting any better. That sucks. Jamar Chase, at one point in this game, was tied for the team lead in tackles because all the interceptions were thrown his way. So he tackled, Jake Browning's interceptor 3 different times. So that's just unbelievable that was a real thing at one point in this game. But yeah, the Lions good, Bengals bad was kind of my main takeaway for this one. So that's all for the Sunday NFL Week 5 recap. I hope you enjoyed me talking by myself and rambling. Obviously, we'll have, I'll have Ben, I'll have Ryan throughout the season, but this was one of those circumstances where we got to push through. We got to ride solo sometimes, and this was a week to do that. So hope you guys enjoyed that one. Make sure to stick around our preview shows along with, college football talk every Wednesday live, 9:30 Eastern, 8:30 Central. Would really, really appreciate if you stopped by. But for that, roll the outro.